I've been wanting to post more videos on my YouTube channel, so my first step is obviously posting more videos, but I came up with an idea. For a lot of YouTubers, they have an opening and a closing. There's something that they say at the beginning to like welcome their audience in, and then something at the end to say goodbye to their audience before usually they have a closing song. So I was thinking, what could I potentially do for something like that? And I was thinking, well, my username is Insane Creator, and I did make a joke about being a cult leader at one point, so I think it would be fitting if I did something like a "Wake up, gun nuts!" or something like that, yelling at you to wake up. So, obviously, by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about the ATF's new rule about arm braces. And I assume everyone that's watching this video knows what that means. Or maybe a foreigner comes across this who has no idea there are gun laws in America. Some Americans don't even know that we have laws. All these guns, they're not going to have magazines in them, and I'm going to keep the actions open so that you know that I'm being safe. This is a Taurus G2C. This is a pistol. And then there are rifles. This is a Remington Model 700 hunting rifle. So obviously looking at this, you can tell that this is a rifle. You can just tell by the way that it is. But whenever you try to come up with a definition for a rifle and a pistol, it's kind of difficult. Obviously these two things are different, but whenever you try to come up with classifications, that's where it gets difficult. Because let's say you try to go with caliber. So this is a 9mm, and this is a 270. You could try to determine that, oh, well, this is chambered in 9mm, so 9mm is a pistol round. So if something's chambered in 9mm, then it's a pistol. But there are a bunch of rifles out there that are chambered in 9mm. There's not a whole lot of the opposite where there's a pistol chambered in a rifle round, but there are a few occasions where something like that happens. Like, I believe the 5.7 was originally a rifle round, but now it's a common pistol round. There's also the... I forget what the name of it is. If I remember, put up a picture right there. But it is a single-shot pistol that shoots 7.62 by 39, also known as the round that an AK-47 shoots. So you can't really determine what is a pistol and what is a rifle depending on its caliber. What people have done to define what is a pistol and what is a rifle is what comes down to barrel length and also the stocks. So if I remember correctly, I can't remember if it's 16 or 18 inches. One has to do with shotguns and the other one has to do with rifles. But there is a legal length that barrels have to be for shotguns and rifles. I'm thinking it's 16 inches for rifles, so let's just stick with that. So a rifle, their barrel has to be 16 inches long, while pistols don't have a rule like that. So a pistol, its barrel can be as short as it wants. But if you thought to yourself, man, my 9mm pistol, it just has way too much recoil, I need to add a stock or something to this so I can get more stability, then you would make an illegal SBR, which stands for short-barreled rifle. So that would be any rifle that has a barrel length less than 16 inches. Stock also determines whether or not it's a pistol or a rifle. With that being said, we come into the arm brace fiasco, and you have stuff like this. You're probably looking at this barrel and you're thinking to yourself, man, that thing is really short. How long is this barrel? And if I remember correctly, it is a 7.5-inch barrel, but this is legally considered a pistol. You're probably wondering how. And that's where this comes in, which is the big controversy and the big news about the ATF. So this is an arm brace. This, in fact, is not a stock. So what you do is you undo this Velcro part, you open up that bottom part right there, that hole, and you jam your arm in there. Didn't mean to do that part, but you jam your arm in there. Then you go and tighten her all up. I'm gonna skip. Alright, there we go. So you put the strap on, and now you got stability when it comes to one-handed shooting. And 10 years or so ago, the ATF actually approved this brace and said, yep, that doesn't constitute a stock. That's good to go. I believe the estimate is between 10 and 14 million of these stocks. But if you don't shove your arm into there, you could also theoretically put it up against your shoulder, which caused a lot of controversy. The ATF went back and forth about whether or not you could shoulder this. But recently the ATF came out and said, hey, we decided that these are short-barreled rifles. This is a felony. You're all felons, anyone who owns an arm brace. So you have a few options. Either one, you register your gun as a short-barreled rifle, which you're legally inclined to do. Either that, or you can just remove it. They said that that's okay, confirmed. As long as you get rid of the arm brace, you don't have to worry about getting it registered. So little arm brace, I guess this is hasta la vista. So now my AR-15 is back to being a pistol. But does this really matter? Is this going to make any sort of difference? President Biden talked about banning arm braces because it makes the weapon concealable, which it doesn't do a whole lot for the AR-15 since it has this buffer tube. You're really not losing out on anything. But when it comes to AK-47s, because there are AK pistols out there, but AKs don't have this buffer tube. They're just completely getting rid of the stock, making it more concealable. And this doesn't make it more concealable, it doesn't make it less concealable. It just really does nothing. All that this would really do is just make it a little more uncomfortable to shoot from the shoulder. So let's test that out. Let's see just how terrible this is now. Let's see if I could even shoulder this thing anymore.
Totally ignore the outfit change. I'm totally not filming this 3 days later, but let's see if this will even run without the brace on it. I mean, I know it will, but... Huh, that was real strange. Let's see if I can shoulder it. Huh, well, that seemed to work real well. But even still, if you're like, oh, I just can't handle this. Oh, the recoil. Oh, it just hurts. Well, the ATF has never banned shoes. Huh, that shoe actually worked better than the arm brace. It actually felt way more comfortable. So maybe if you have an AR pistol, just get rid of the brace. Just start using your shoe instead. That's the brace. And then if the ATF comes checking around, you can just toss your shoe into the corner. No one will ever know, right? I mean, might as well do a mag dump, you know.
And with that out of the way, let me give my justification on why I think it's okay to own something like this. Because this is a very political thing. There is a lot of fear behind this. There's a lot of people terrified that just a random Joe Schmo could own something like this. Which the government tries really hard to make sure that people that are unfit don't get stuff like this. Because you have to pass a background check, which a lot of people don't know about, but you have to pass a background check. And what this check entails is making sure you're not a felon, no domestic abuse, not a drunk, not a drug addict, including marijuana, never been institutionalized. They're trying to make sure that you're not a crazy person, that you're not going to use this against somebody. And it's very difficult to justify, oh, well, we think that you might eventually at some point, potentially, maybe at some point, do something bad with this, so we're just going to ban you for life. You hear it all the time on the news, I would have never thought they would have done something like that. But there they are. These monsters that you would have never expected are monsters. All those people sitting in the back, you think, man, that person's a real weirdo. They gotta be up to something. They don't ever have a speeding ticket. And then people bring up, like, well, this is the go-to for mass shootings. This is the go-to. Which it's really not. I forget the exact statistics, but an overwhelming amount mass shootings are done with handguns, which people aren't trying to ban these, or at least not yet. And even whenever it comes down to just general murders, 3% of murders compared to, I think, 70%. Your bare hands and feet, I think it's 5%. Knives, I think it's 6 or 7. If I remember correctly, the only weapon that is lower ranking than rifles are shotguns. I think shotguns are like 1 or 2%. In my opinion, there's no statistical reasoning why to ban something like this. The only reason that I could think is, oh, well, it's scary. It makes me afraid, which isn't a reason to ban stuff. People love going to haunted houses. Haunted houses scare people, but they think it's fun. High horsepowered cars. So for something that only is responsible for 3% of murders, why do we need to ban this? But something that's used 20 times more, why is this perfectly fine? At least that's how I think about it. And then there's the argument of weapons of war. This is a weapon of war, which, I mean, kind of. There are ARs used in the military, but they're not really the same. They have full auto. Mine's only semi-auto. Mine can't be full auto. That's a crime. There's a bunch of stuff that I would have to do to get a full auto. I mean, technically I could, but it's not easy. And even if this is a weapon of war, even if that is what you consider it, I mean, the Founding Fathers owned weapons of war. They promoted people to own weapons of war. Muskets, cannons, warships. They used private citizens' warships to fight in the revolution. This might be a stretch, but I think that the Founding Fathers might be okay with the people owning weapons of war. And as President Biden has talked about, the AR-15 can't stand a chance against the military. The military has fighter planes, nukes, tanks. Your AR-15 isn't going to be able to do anything against them. Which, I mean, has a fair point. So then what's the point of banning it? If the statistics aren't on your side, can't do anything against the government, what's the point of getting rid of something like this? Other than just, ooh, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And even if you bring up magazine, just like, oh, well, this has the potential to do more than this. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why we need to get rid of this, because it can hold way more. We can also get high-capacity magazines for this that would hold more than this. Well, that's not really a valid argument. And even if you were to do a restriction where every magazine could only hold up to 10 rounds, then people that are wanting to do bad things are just going to carry more magazines. That's not a hypothetical thing. That's something that actually happened. When/where there have been magazine restrictions, when people do bad things, they just carry extra magazines. So with that being said, trying to ban stuff like that isn't going to go well. It's just going to cause fear and distrust in people. So the Founding Fathers created the Second Amendment, talking about you need to make sure that you're armed so that if any other government or even your own government were to come and try to take your rights away from you, you're able to stand up to them. Make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen. They pass on a few hundred years later. Now the government's talking about, well, you don't need to own an AR-15, even though it doesn't kill as many people as pistols. It's not used as frequently in shootings. Really, there's no reason to get rid of them. They're just scary. You need to give them to us, because the Founding Fathers never said you could own something like this. They were only talking about muskets. There's no way that the Founding Fathers could have ever known we would make something like this. You'd take a step back and you would think to yourself, hey, I feel like I've heard this before. I feel like the Founding Fathers warned us about people like you. So whether or not you do have a legitimate reason, whether or not you truly are terrified that this is going to be the downfall of society, it's not a good look. It's not a good look trying to get rid of something for really no reason. other than it's scary and it could do something. I like to believe that the government isn't becoming tyrannical, but I don't know. It's kind of looking like that's what it is. And even though a lot of people don't want to, a lot of people are prepared for Civil War Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, as the 2A community would call it. So, whether or not you agree with me, that's what's great about America, is we can have differing opinions. You can think that I am the worst human being to ever exist, I am a bigot, I am what's wrong with society, I am the downfall of society, whatever you think, that's your opinion. But in my opinion, this is fun, I really like this, and even though I don't want to boog, I'm ready to boog. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it informational, entertaining, something. So, I mean, that's all that I can really hope for. And I just want you to always remember...